So, hi everyone, thank you so much for coming. We'll be starting right now. And before we start, I'll just introduce you myself and also Carrie. So, we're going to be the admins for this session. And here, Lois and Amaya, they are the presenters. So, the session's name will Be the Voice, Not an Echo by Lois Lemmon and Amaya Ranatunge. So, the introduction, I'll just read you the introduction of this presentation. So in this session, you will hopefully learn how to connect with other clubs nationally and internationally, as well as trying to get more clubs, mainly from developing countries, to join MUN. You will be able to develop leadership and communication skills. You can use the skills given to public speaking at debates and at school, and be able to try and communicate with other students and clubs to run an MUN/SDG inspired project. Remember to be the voice, not the echo. And with that said, Lois and Amaya, I'm handing the floor to you.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen now. Can you all see it okay?
Yes, perfect.
To Be the Voice, Not an Echo by Amaya, Ranatunge and Lois Lemmon.
Okay, so first we'll start off by introducing ourselves. So I'm Amaya and I'm 16 years old and I live in Sri Lanka. And currently I work as a diplomat for South Asia in MUN Impact. And I'm a mentor for MUN at Home Round 8. And I have been doing MUN for like 5 years. And so that's all about me. So I also hope that you'd cooperate with us during our presentation.
Hi, I'm Lois and I'm 14 years old. I live in Gibraltar in Spain, but I'm born in the UK. I'm a diplomat for Europe and I've been doing MUN for a year and I found out about it from my school.
So, first we'll move on to the general overview of our topic. In here, we'll mainly focus that how we can connect with other clubs and schools and organizations to run MUN events and SDG projects. So, simply, our workshop is about how partnerships can make your MUN club more successful. And we would also have a general discussion on SDGs. Since due to time constraints, we wouldn't have time for discuss all the 17 SDGs. We would touch the ones that we are most passionate about, that we feel as the most important SDGs. And we'll also discuss about the MUN, how MUN develop leaderships and communication skills.
How have MUN conferences and organizations succeeded by partnering? So you shouldn't really specialize on one SDG or topic. So you should divide your work in your committee by talking about one topic each and be responsible for knowing that certain topic. And if you are going to specialize in one SDG, choose the SDG that the majority of people like. This is because more people will enjoy the conference which shows a better succession rate. Examples of partnerships are MUN Society in India and Climate Cardinals in the USA. SDG 1. SDG 1 in general is ending all forms of poverty globally. There has been an increase of poor people of $1.90 a day, as there's been an increase, no, there's been a decrease, sorry, of poor people of, sorry, there's been a decrease of number of the poor people at $1.90 a day, as there were 1.9120 billion in 1990 and 689 million in 2017. The poverty headcount ration at $1.90 a day in percentage of population has also decreased, as it was 35.9 in 1990 and 9.2% in 2017. Some organizations that help with SDG 1 are Oxfam International. This is an international organization with 19 clubs in 90 different countries. They help find practical solutions for people to end poverty and have worked with 22.3 million people over 2 years. When I first saw this number, it shocked me because I didn't believe that so many people could be in poverty around the world. Another organization is the Organization of Poverty Alleviation and Development, or OPAD. It's an international organization that works with over 40 countries to actively work on poverty by promoting human rights, sustainable development, and climate change. The Global Citizen is an international organization with headquarters in New York and branches in countries like Canada, Australia, South Africa, Germany, and the UK. They've done lots of work to help with SDG 1. They've taken over 24 million actions to target world leaders to eradicate extreme poverty by 2030. And this has resulted in commitment and policy announcements by leaders valued at over $48 billion.
Okay, so we'll move into SDG 5 and 10. First, I'll focus on the SDG 5, which mainly I think you'd all know that SDG 5 is focused on achieving gender equality. And first, I know history is boring, but I'll give you a brief history on how the fight for women's rights has succeeded. So, when considering about the history of women's rights, that history can be divided mainly into four parts as the first wave of feminism, second wave of feminism, third wave of feminism, and the fourth wave of feminism. So, first of all, the first wave of feminism. The first wave of feminism started in the early 19th and 20th century, mostly in the Western world. And it focused on legal issues, primarily on the women's rights to vote. And that due to the first wave of feminism, the women get to believe that there's a right for women to get education. And they started to believe that for young women, there's more to their lives than just bearing children, cooking, and looking after their houses. So in the first wave of feminism, it was mainly focused about legal issues, including the right for women to vote. So the second wave of feminism. The second wave of feminism started in 1960s in USA, and it mainly focused its attention towards the domestic violence in US. And women during the second wave of feminism also fought for the equal salary and an equal pay in their jobs because they believed, and I don't know whether you believe, but I too believe that just because you're women, that doesn't mean that you should have a lesser salary than the others. And also, the second wave of feminism focused on the reproductive rights and how they should have more rights to cooperate with the domestic violence they were facing in that region. So, the third wave of feminism. The third wave also started in USA in 1990s, and it has been there until 2010. And in the third wave of feminism, one of the most important parts of the history of feminism, it has embraced individuality and diversity and showed what it meant to be a women rights activist. And I hope you all know about the fourth wave of feminism because the fourth wave of feminism is the women right period of women rights activists from 2010 until now. It's the current situation of women's rights ongoing right here. So if we consider about the history, you could understand that comparative to the first situation where the first wave of feminism happened, we have come a long way because now we compared to the first wave of feminism where women fought for the right to vote and for the reproductive rights and right to achieve justice against domestic violence. Now we can see women participating in even in the real UN, in governments, and in even political stances. So I believe that when considering the SDG 5, comparative to the history, we have come a long way, but still there's a long way to go. So then I believe that then we move on to the SDG 10, the reduced inequalities. I personally believe that SDG 10 that automatically SDG 5 kind of falls under the SDG 10 because it's always also about the SDG 5. That's why we have put those two SDGs together to discuss them. So first we'll discuss
I am extremely sorry for interrupting, but it's just because I don't want to waste your time because I was late for internet issues. I would like to get a recap for what you guys were saying for the past 12 minutes, please.
Sorry, I didn't get what you said.
Well, unfortunately, we can't do a full recap, but if the speakers don't mind, you can just give like a brief summary about what you're trying to do, and then hopefully he gets some context.
Okay, so so regarding the SDG 10, like I personally believe that regarding inequalities, colorism, LGBTQ rights, and racism is one of the most important stuff. So if you like just consider the reports, you'd see that being a colored person, being an LGBTQ, and a being a racist, that you have like there's more opportunities for you to get discriminated and for you to get harassed by the society. So next we'll move on to the organizations that help for the achievement of those SDGs. So for the SDG 5 and 10, we have UN Women, which is like the most important organization that helps to achieve the gender equality. And there is the UN entity for gender equality and empowerment of women and equal participation in government systems. So when considering about the organizations, the UN Women was formed in 2010. And if we consider like the important events regarding gender equality, we can consider the 66th session of GA1 in where the Ban Ki-moon mentioned the crucial role of gender equality. So regarding the organization that helps to achieve the SDG 10, we can say that organizations that help to achieve SDG 10, they also plays a major role. So let's move on to the SDG 30. We can say that profound consequences on our planet's diversity of life and people's lives. And threats to nowadays there are huge amount of threats to freshwater supplies and crops. Mainly themes like energy efficiency, environmental investments, risks and opportunities due to climatic changes are considered regarding this SDG. So, giving a brief summary about all the SDGs I have so far discussed and the effects of COVID-19 on those SDGs, I could say that the lockdowns during COVID-19 has increased the rates of domestic violence in this period, and also that the 70% of corona frontline workers are women. And we can consider that when considering colored people, that during corona COVID-19 period, that they are enjoying less health facilities, and there has been inequalities when providing health facilities to those colored people. And when considering about the SDG 13, there was something like mentioned in the first global summit. The COVID-19 has a huge adverse effects on humankind, and it has a lot of negative effects. But if we kind of consider the nature, it somehow indirectly it has benefited the nature because of the COVID-19, we don't have factories going on, we don't have the vehicles on the road due to the curfew. So now it's kind of the rates of emission of polluting gases and rates of global environmental pollution has increased due to the COVID-19. We can say somehow it's an adverse effect to the humankind, but kind of it's kind of good to the nature. So let's move on with organizations that helps to achieve the SDG 13. Okay, so SDG 13, that we can say like Intergovernmental Panel on Climatic Change provides objective reports on climatic change and shows the potential environmental and socio-economic consequences. And there's the other one is National Climatic Data Center, and also called as the NCDC. All of those organizations thoroughly helps for the achievement of the SDG 30. And Another one we can consider is the UN Voice and the World Meteorological Organization, and they respond to global data requests and produces many climatic publications. I think Lois will take over from now.
SDG 17. In general, SDG 17 is how to strengthen global partnerships for the goals. Organizations like Net Official Development Assistance and the Development Assistance Committee of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development total to $147.4 billion in 2019. This also shocked me because I never thought organizations were using so much money to partner together and help the goals. 79% of imports from developing countries entered developing countries duty-free. This is good because people from developing countries might not be able to pay for non-duty-free things because of taxes and other money problems. The debt burden on developing countries remains constant and stable at about 3% of export revenue. Things like trade, foreign direct investment, and remittances, are all projected to decline up to 40% in 2020. However, almost half of the world's population are not connected to the internet, particularly in poor countries. This is bad because it cuts off partnerships in lots of areas and affects lots of ideas progressing quicker. Some organizations helping with SDG 17 are the Net Official Assistance, or the OAD, or the Net ODA. It is a governmental aid that promotes the design of economic development and welfare of developing countries. The Development Assistance Committee, or the DAC, promotes development in cooperation. It helps with all the SDGs and the economic growth in many countries. Inactivity. So we want you to think about how you can organize events in other schools or clubs that are related to MUN and the SDGs. Would we be able to ask people to unmute their mic or not?
Yes, so if you have something to say, definitely just raise your hand or press on the yes from the participants panel, and then we'll call on you. Or if you
Okay.
want to just put it in the chat, definitely just drop them in the chat.
Okay. So we'll let you think for however long you need, about a minute or two, and then just raise your hand or type it in the chat.
Okay.
Is there any volunteers who want to do the activity? Like you can raise your hands in the chat if you want.
So Malik 1167. I'm sorry, you're supposed to have your name in the country format, but if you have something to say, please feel free to unmute yourself.
I am terribly sorry that because it's just because I don't have my country yet, or I don't know how to get my country, so that's why I didn't get it.
Oh, it's just your home country.
But I feel like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So I feel like schools should arrange more bazaars or like sports days or these kind of like things like throughout the school year, so they can promote their stuff or promote like um, health activities or promote like any issue that is going on and try to solve it like throughout the children or like the peers. I feel like that's a good way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, to be honest. I think that if schools do come together and help out with problems like health and maybe mental health as well, it could help a lot of students.
And one of like the best ways to do that is to make it to make it fun amongst the students in class and like the school. So the students would actually put this in mind and be like, next time they get to do anything related to this, be like, yeah, in school they did that and that and that.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to share? You can say it in the chat if you want to.
We can like have 2 more people doing the activity.
Jocelyn from India wants to.
I see someone raising hand in the chat. I'm sorry if you like, I mispronounced your name, Jocelyn K, I think.
Hello everyone, is my voice audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to say that schools can do something related to the SDGs, like creating awareness by coming together and organizing the, like you can say, run for unity or run for the awarenesses. But as due to the pandemic situations, we cannot organize such type of things, as there are the like corona cases in all over the world. But we can also organize a virtual type of events like this summit, and so that all the students are getting more and more information about the SDGs. First of all, there is a lack of awareness about the SDGs. The most important step needed to be taken is that there should be awareness. Like I will like to give some one instance that in my area, the students don't have a like proper information, or you can say awareness about the SDGs. The first thing that is needed to do is like telling the students from the very basic level about the SDGs, and holding the, you can say, schools can hold the by coming together workshops or the runs for unity or like virtual events in this regard. So that was all that I would like to say.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share in the chat maybe?
May Jocelyn please.
Yes. So there was Vishwa from India who posted his idea in the chat, so you can definitely check that.
Okay. I'm certainly concerned about SDG 5, and I feel education and eradicating poverty makes a great impact. So schools or groups can organize free teaching for people in the local area. I completely agree, but I think that if maybe they can't afford the schooling, then they can get free teaching, or maybe if they missed out, then definitely. And we've also got one from Cherish. I think schools can come together and organize a fundraiser and raise money for poor people. It does help not to have cash, but it can be close as well. Amaya, do you want to say anything about any of these?
Maybe I'll take the next slide.
Okay, so let's just move on. Thank you for participating in that, by the way.
Okay, so this is like some kind of one of the major advantages you can get by doing NUN. It's developing leadership skills. So considering about leadership skills, what I feel is that one of the major leadership skills that you should have is decisiveness and integrity and relationship building. And through MUN, by doing MUN, you can develop all of those, because when you consider about lobbying sessions, resolution workings, you can interact with more people, and through those sessions, you can develop your leadership skills. And through MUN, you can do problem solving, initiating, and you can learn how to research, analyze, and evaluate. And most important, through MUN, you can learn how to be diplomatic, because in MUN, it doesn't matter how much facts you speak, or how fast you speak, or how nice accent you have. It's what's important in MUN is that you protect your diplomacy, and you create an image for the other people where they see you as a diplomatic delegate. So I believe that MUN is something that really helps to develop your leadership skills. So you have to inspire others, and being part of a team, motivating them to work as best as they can. And if you're a leader, you also have to be a good listener. And as I mentioned in MUN, during lobbying sessions and resolution making, that your active listening is really improving. So I believe that the MUN is something that really helps to develop your leadership skills. So we'll next move on to the next skill that you can gain by doing MUN. So the next one is developing communication skills. So if we consider communication skills, we can divide them into two parts as like public speaking and socializing. Because first let's consider about public speaking. And it's obvious that anyone develops your public speaking. And you can say that you can do prepared and impromptu speeches. You can say for prepared speeches that practice makes it perfect. And if you are doing prepared speeches and if you are doing MUN, the more conferences you go, more confident you get about doing prepared speeches because MUN directly develops your communication and public speaking skill. And then considering about impromptu speeches, we can say that for let's take for example the time on conference for one session for one conference you have in your committee you have at least 3 or 4 topics. So I believe that if when you're going to the conference you are having a brief research of those topics. So like if think that if you have gone to like 5 conferences you already have like top details and facts about 3 topics at hand. And if you are going to do an impromptu speech, those facts that you have already searched for MUN conference come in handy because you can use those facts for the impromptu speeches you are doing. And it's clear that the doing MUN directly develop your communication skills. And it's important that in MUN and in public speaking, what I personally believe is that it is important that it doesn't in public speaking, it doesn't matter whether you speak fast, whether you speak nicely. What is more important is that you leave a message with the audience. And what remains at last of in MUN is the impression you leave with the audience. So I believe that by doing on MUN, and you can develop communication skills by developing like your body language and logical thinking. Because if you are attended like a lot of MUN conferences, you then gradually you will have the ability to control your confidence and your nerves. Because I know from personal experience that when you're going in front of an MUN conference or any kind of audience to do some kind of public speech, just get the nerves are there everywhere because no matter how many conferences or how many competitions you have attended, that's going to be the nerves. And by doing MUN, like by going to a lot of conferences, you can control your nerves. So it's clear that MUN develops your communication skills, most importantly your public speaking skill. So if we consider about the socializing, that we can say that obviously in an international conference, there's going to be a lot of delegates from different countries. So delegates from all over the world, by communicating with those delegates, you can develop your socializing skills and also the communication skills through that. And you can be an active and a good listener through that. So for myself, I don't know for the others, but for me personally, I've scared socializing with delegates even more than doing the speeches and public speaking at MUN conferences. But doing for like but after being to like 4 or 5 conferences, it stops you being nervous about being socializing. And so it's clear that doing MUN helps to develop your communication skills, public speaking skills, and your socializing.
How can you partner with schools and clubs to organize MUN and SDG related events? So you can do something like twinning projects, and for example, you could do maybe a debate or conference over Zoom or in person, depending on when you do it. And you could also do a fundraiser to try and raise awareness and money towards the SDGs. And you can also create an MUN impact zone at your conference, which helps delegates and leaders show their work to support the SDGs and how they've done their work and how they've helped support it. You can also host a leadership roundtable with student leaders which helps educate them about the SDGs and also helps promote the SDGs even further. And you can initiate a project to make a difference. So you can find other clubs, schools, or organizations to design a project that delegates can get involved with.
So, like, this is like, in my opinion, this is like the most important stuff we have to consider, because with the ongoing COVID-19 period, like, there's really impossibility to continue MUN clubs and MUN conferences. So first we'll take social distancing. It's clear that in COVID-19, due to safety measures, we have to keep our social distancing. And due to that, we cannot organize physical events, and it disturbs the MUN club practices. So no longer we can have physical MUN conferences. But the MUN conferences, MUN leaders have like decided to have virtual conferences, and they have really proved to be better like the physical conferences. So I can say that virtual conferences are really good as the physical conferences. But there comes an issue when, if you consider about the LDDs or the less economic developed countries or the developing countries, we can't say that every single person, every single MUN delegate has the opportunities or the possibility to attend virtual conferences, because there's a clear and a strong technological literacy barrier in those countries. And for myself, I'm from a developing country, and I don't think that every single house in my country has like a computer or a device for each and every person. Because in a house, there can be like four or five siblings and a single computer or any device for all five of them. So in a situation like that, it is impossible to participate in a virtual MUN conferences with the online education and online schooling going on. So I believe that virtual conferences is a really good solution. But we have to consider the fact that there are some countries, there are some people who can't afford to be in an virtual conferences, because if you consider, schools have closed due to COVID-19 in some countries, and there can be some students who use school IT labs for their work. And when considering that, we can say that in some countries, for some people, that virtual conferences are not a possibility. They can be just a dream for those people. So I can say that the COVID-19 has seriously affected the process of ongoing MUN conferences and MUN clubs. But the virtual conferences proves to be a successful solution. But I personally believe that if the COVID-19, though there are virtual conferences, COVID-19 has somewhat disturbed the process of MUN clubs. And I would really like all of you to like present some solutions we can take regarding this in the chat box. And if you want, you can ask them us and suggest them during the Q&A session.
How MUN clubs and organizations have helped the UN achieve the SDGs. By promoting the SDGs, by MUN clubs promoting the SDGs, more clubs, schools, and delegates can learn about them and take action to help them. By MUN, and also by letting MUN getting children involved. By MUN getting children involved, the younger generations know what is happening, and so we have more time and we have a larger amount of people helping the SDGs to promote them and to also help other kids to help the SDGs as well. I believe that this photo shows that you shouldn't be an echo and that you should be brave enough to talk about important topics like the SDGs, and just to be able to have the communication and leadership skills that many UN and many amazing and leaders have today. And so this photo basically represents that you shouldn't be the echo, you should be the voice.
So if we consider the SDGs, we can see that all the 17 SDGs are interconnected. And if we are to fulfill one SDG, we need to fulfill all the 17 SDGs. Because for the perfect fulfillment of one SDG, there should be the fulfillment of the other SDGs. So you should keep in your mind that you have the right to unmute your opinions and your voices. So try to keep your MUN clubs and conferences going on and try to achieve something in your region. Because right is right even if everyone is against it, and wrong is wrong even if everyone is for it. So remember, make sure to remember yourselves that there's a superhero within every one of us, and let that person shine. So like I mentioned, don't let anyone or anything drag you down. And always remember to be a voice, but not an echo.
Thank you for listening. Feel free to ask any questions now.
Yeah, you can like raise hand or put them in the chat so the admin staff can choose them to ask. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Thank you very much. So we'll have about 15 minutes to entertain questions. There doesn't seem to be any questions yet, so we'll give them a minute or two to generate some questions. But you can definitely raise your hand or drop them in the chat so the admins can direct them. Actually, I think Malik from Sudan, you just raised your hand. So, sorry, do you have something to say? I think I'm unmuting you. Let me see.
Yeah, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, but it kind of relates to this topic. So I want to know if, like, is this program, like, about this SDG 13 program, will there be a conference related to this program, like, on forward? Will there be a debate or anything related to it?
I don't really understand your question. Sorry.
Yeah, can you
Will there
please
be a
rephrase
content
it?
conference or no?
No, there won't be a conference about this.
Okay.
So we have a question from William, the head of press. Would you just unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello, thank you very much for that very enlightening and interesting presentation there. I would just like to ask that definitely COVID-19 has had a huge impact on everyone's life around the world in some respect. However, I think for a lot of us, it has made us think differently about the world and potentially even exploring new platforms that we would never have explored before, like, for example, Zoom. So do you believe that any advantages have come out of us having to shift a lot of our everyday activities online? And how could MUN clubs utilize that to make potentially even more of an impact than they could before?
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I can understand that because before the COVID-19, I was even aware that there's such a platform called Zoom exist in this world, because platforms like that and virtual conferences really makes an impact. And like, from I don't know, in when there are physical conferences, there are some events that we just miss them because due to some other important stuff we have. But when you're having virtual conferences, that there's already always time to participate. And I don't know, now I'm participating in virtual conferences more than I've participated in physical ones. But like I mentioned, I personally believe that in some countries, the virtual conferences can be just a dream, but it's our duty to let them fulfill their dream by by destroying this technological literacy barrier.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So if anyone else have questions, just drop them in the chat or raise your hand, or you can just send me a private message and I'll unmute you. Doesn't seem like anyone have questions right now, so. Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah, Jasleen from India, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Let me see.
So, everyone, I would like to say something about the point which was just mentioned. I would like to say something about my personal experience. Even I don't even know about the MUN before the COVID-19, because in my country, or specifically in my area, there was no awareness in this regard. So during the lockdown, I was exploring just through the internet. I was browsing something, and I just came to know about this. So I would like to agree with the point of Amaya that we can explore such type of things. We can come to know about the platforms which we have never explored ever before, because I myself am came to know about a lot of things about MUN and some more things. It was quite helpful for me. I think lockdown is something which was quite better for me.
Seems that Malik has another question.
Yes, Malik from Sudan.
So I think like a common idea we have here is that lockdown pretty much got most of these countries together, like most of the countries in the world together in one hand, and let us made us try to discuss all the world's problems in many different ways. One of them is the MUN, and I really appreciate that people are really trying to make a good thing out of a bad thing. Like for example, this pandemic has got many other people into problems, either if it's like economical problems, school problems, even like health problems, and that programs like this and MUN being in Zoom or being in virtually is trying to make us look at the brighter side of this pandemic.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agrees with you because like in the first few moments the pandemic was like it was we all hated it and we all despised it. But now it's like those people have made something good out of that pandemic. Like now we are getting more experiences while being inside the houses. And I should say that pandemic does have negative and adverse effects, but in kind of a way, it has like open new paths for some delegates and some people in the world.
Thank you. Does anyone else have questions or comments they just want to make? I guess we'll just give them a minute or two if they come up with any questions.
Okay.
And also, I just wanted to say there will be a recording of the presentation. So if you missed the first part, that would be okay. We'll send you a recording.
Like if anyone doesn't have any questions, we can like I don't know, we can do some kind of other activity where like they can just present their comments on the presentation. Like they can just present like comment on what was discussed if they don't have any questions.
Sure, it's completely up to you. So if you have any activities or anything, just feel free.
Yeah, guys, if you don't have any questions right now, like you can raise your hands and you can comment on the topic like which we discussed right now. Like if you have any solutions, any suggestions which can be taken to tackle these issues, you can suggest them by raising hand in the participants list.
And I'll also be posting one of the speakers' Instagram that they want us to share. So if you have anything, definitely just reach out to their Instagram. Uh, I think someone just raised their hand. I didn't really see that. Yeah, so does anyone still have questions? If you have questions, please raise your hand, drop them in the chat or anything. Just unmute yourself. So if not, I guess we can call this an end. I also just posted the link of other programs and MUN Impact and also our merch shop. So definitely check that out. So if nobody has any questions, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you guys for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We hope you learned something.
Justine from India, you just raised your hand. Do you have something to say?
I don't have any particular thing to say, but I would like to thank you all for such a great workshop. It was really such an amazing thing to learn. I learned a lot of things here, and thank you so much.
No
Yeah,
problem.
welcome.